Imagine this, it's 1998. You're sitting at your bulky desktop, the glow of the CRT monitor lighting up your face. You just popped in a burned CD labeled Windows 98, cracked, no payment, no license key, just a free copy of one of the most expensive pieces of software in the world, and you weren't alone. Millions of people were doing the exact same thing, pirating software on a scale so massive that companies like Microsoft, Adobe, and Apple were losing billions every year. But here's the twist. Some of them didn't want it to stop. Because as much as Bill Gates raged against piracy deep down, Microsoft knew something shocking. Piracy wasn't destroying them. It was making them unstoppable. So how did an illegal software black market actually help Microsoft dominate the world? Let's go back to where it all started. Before the internet made piracy a one-click affair, people did it the old-school way, hand to hand. In the late 80s and early 90s, floppy disks were like underground currency. Kids at school swapped them like baseball cards, passing along everything from word processors to full operating systems. Then, in the mid-90s, CD burners changed everything. Now, anyone could duplicate a $500 program in minutes. Companies were losing millions. Microsoft, Adobe, Apple, all of them. And Bill Gates? He saw this coming before most people even had computers in their homes. In 1976, before Microsoft was even a major player, Bill Gates wrote an open letter to computer hobbyists, basically calling them out for stealing software. His words were blunt. Who can afford to do professional work for nothing? What hobbyist can put 3 man-years into programming, finding all bugs, documenting his product, and distribute it for free? For Gates, piracy wasn't just an inconvenience. It was an existential threat to the entire industry. But Steve Jobs? He saw things differently. Jobs had a completely different philosophy. He once said, "It's better to be pirated than ignored." And it made sense. Mac computers were expensive. Too expensive for most people. But if students and designers pirated Apple software, Final Cut, Logic Pro, Mac OS, they became addicted to Apple's ecosystem, and eventually they'd have to buy a real Mac. Jobs didn't encourage piracy outright, but he sure as hell didn't fight it as hard as Gates did. And in the long run, that made all the difference. Then came the real game changer, the internet. Napster, LimeWire, Kazaa, and later the Pirate Bay. Before this, piracy required effort. You had to know someone with the software. But now, you could download entire operating systems overnight. Windows XP, cracked. Microsoft Office, free. Adobe Photoshop, one click away. And this is where the real twist comes in. Microsoft had every reason to crack down harder than ever, but instead, they let it slide. In countries like China, Russia, and India, over 90% of Windows copies were pirated. Microsoft had the resources to fight it, but they didn't, because the truth was, piracy was helping Microsoft win. Think about it. If an entire country is using pirated Windows, what happens when businesses need to go legit? They have no choice but to buy real Windows licenses. A former Microsoft executive even admitted, if they're going to pirate something, we want them to pirate ours. And that strategy worked. By the time Microsoft finally cracked down, Windows was already the default operating system of the world. Gates hated piracy, until he realized it was the best thing that ever happened to Microsoft.
It's in the hen house now.
But the golden age of piracy couldn't last forever. By the early 2000s, the FBI and major corporations went on the offensive. Lawsuits, site takedowns, arrests. Suddenly, downloading pirated software came with serious risks. And the tech companies, they adapted. Instead of fighting piracy, they made it obsolete. No more one-time payments. Instead, subscription models took over. Photoshop, now it's Adobe Creative Cloud. Microsoft Office, now it's Office 365. Windows, now Microsoft practically gives it away, then charges for everything else. The message was clear. If you can't stop piracy, make it irrelevant. So was piracy really the enemy? Or was it the secret weapon that helped companies like Microsoft dominate? Because whether they liked it or not, the biggest software companies in the world grew even bigger, thanks to piracy. And next time you're paying for a software subscription, you can't cancel. Just remember who really won.